Hello and welcome on in to the Twisted Turnbuckle Podcast. I am Chris DiCarlo. In the corner to my right is the man with class, Mike, the class DiCarlo from Rhode Island. How are you?
I'm great, everybody.
Always in the corner to my left is the player, the podcast host, the producer, internet radio DJ, Mr. Benny Scala.
You've heard a Twisted Sister. Say hello to the Twisted Mister.
Love it. Underneath Mike for tonight's episode is our special co-host, friend, host of the Pro Wrestling Time Tunnel podcast from Kentucky, Mr. Tony Richards.
Hello, everybody. It's good to be back here with all my friends again and Mr. Cooley.
That's right. And our main event guest for this week, live on the Player Entertainment Network YouTube channel. And please watch, like, and subscribe, is a former 6-time different organization tag team champion and champion. He should be in every Hall of Fame in our book. He is Mr. Wendall Cooley. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
We appreciate your time. We want hello to everybody in our live chat. Benny will let us know what's going on there. And if you will, Benny, please, my video disclaimer. This is under U.S. Copyright Law 107, fair use. The clips I show here and clip are from my own personal DVD collection. I do not sell them. I do not rent them to nobody. They are clipped for our enjoyment and to talk about on this show each and every week and to keep classic pro wrestling alive. And with that, Benny, please roll WC1.
WC1. Give me 1 second here. There it is.
I made an interview with Perez and Cooley prior to going on the air. Let's hear that now.
Ladies and gentlemen, in my opinion, one of the most exciting events in the history of Mid-South Wrestling occurred here last week when the new Mid-South Tag Team Champions were crowned. A lot of people said it was an underdog situation, and probably so when Wendall Cooley and Al Perez won the coveted Mid-South Tag Team titles. Gentlemen, congratulations.
Well, thank you, Mr. Ross. It's a pleasure to be holding these belts. A lot of great teams have held them, and now I'm considering myself and Wendall Cooley one of them greats. And we got a good taste of these belts, and brother, I just don't want to let them go, and I know Wendall doesn't want to let them go either.
Well, Wendall, I know you all are going to be fighting champions. You have told me this. Privately, you're going to be fighting champions. You're proving that today because in just a little bit later, you're going to be going against Skandar Akbar's team of Kareem Muhammad in the one-man game.
That's right, Jim Ross. You know, we're fixing to put these belts on the line of two gentlemen well over 800 pounds. You know, and myself and Al here, we're about 460 pounds, but we're not going to back down from any.
Concealing that fifth, and he's caught by the referee. Cooley catches him. He got him. Cooley nails Jerry Stubbs, and he wins the Alabama Heavyweight Championship. That means he gets the shot at NWA World Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair. A fantastic victory for Wildcat Wendall Cooley as he turns back Jerry Chrome Dome Stubbs. We do have indeed an Alabama champion in Wildcat Wendall Cooley. Let's get the... Makes his home in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's in the green trunks. Wildcat Wendall Cooley out of Texas. Catches the world champion in a good, beautiful high hip toss. Another high hip toss. Cooley looking extremely well. Cooley, who has been training on the beaches of Pensacola. High backdrop now by Wildcat Wendall Cooley and Ric Flair.
And before we get into it, Benny, if you will, WC2, please.
All right.
Ready, going in there against Dundee and Cooley. You're right. 1 fall, 10-minute time limit match. We're up and ready with Boss Winner in their corner out of parts unknown at a total weight of 442. 440 pounds on the other side out of San Antonio, Texas, Wildcat Wendall Cooley. And out of Australia, the superstar Bill Dundee. Gary Calhoun will be refereeing this one. He says, ring the bell. And it's going to be Wendall Cooley. Wildcat Wendall starting again. Ready. Ready, he hopes. Yeah. Wildcat Wendall.
Wildcat, the man you do not mess with, not in that respect. And he better keep it. Oh! Got a clothesline on the apron. I don't think I've ever seen
Looked like he was trying to go for a form of a sunset flip. Lord, you know, showing a little smarts there.
Wendall Cooley moved away in the nick of time. Cooley working on that injured left knee. Well, these two are really going at it, Jack.
Wow, yeah. I was fixing to say, I think I'm going to ask for hazard of duty pay. I almost got caught up in that. These guys went at it. I don't know what the deal is with
Lee, all of the broadcast podium this evening. I'll take that. You just want to hold the Texas Heavyweight Championship. That's all you want to do. Hey, look, I've been to Texas 63 times that I can remember.
And never once have you been a champion.
And the downside to that is what?
So you might as well hold the belt and feel like one for a minute.
Just because I hold the belt doesn't mean I feel like...
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, baby.
Some great classic footage there of Mr. Cooley and his great career up until now, presently with his great band. Benny, what a great tune.
I love Creedence Clearwater. One of my favorites.
And I actually going to start it off with a question for Mr. Cooley. I know you were in Southwest Championship Wrestling before I did the Mid-South footage here, but I want to know the Junction in San Antonio, Texas. Was it like a studio? Was it a hotel? What exactly was the Junction, sir?
It was a studio, basically. No heat and air, miserably hot. I think there might have been two sides with some old wooden bleachers in them or something, but it was a small little place on the corner downtown San Antonio, and that's where we did all of our TV, and man, was it ever hot.
Wow. It kind of looked small, but they made it sound like or made it look like something. I don't know what. That's why that was my question for you to start this off. Benny.
Yeah, it was very small, tight, very small and tight.
Wow.
I got a double question. You were on Dan and Benny in the Ring about 3 years ago. We really enjoyed having you. And you told a story, if I remember right, about you, I think your brother and your cousins actually building a wrestling ring when you were younger. So I wanted you to talk about that. And then how did you get the name Wildcat? It's such a great wrestling name.
Okay. To start with, this was way back in 80, probably late 81, 82. I don't know if you guys remember Bad Boy Hines.
Billy and Bad
Old timer. Yes, Billy and Bad Boy. Okay. Well, Bad Boy, his name was Jimmy Hines, but anyway, he retired here when he got out of the business and became an insurance salesman. My older brother, Greg, was working at a building supply place, kind of like Home Depot, but he ended up meeting Bad Boy because he would come in there on a pretty regular basis and buy things and just, visit and whatever with everybody there. And we were huge wrestling fans anyway. So my brother knew who he was. So he eventually got to talking to him when he would come in and out of there. And he asked him if he would be interested. And not me at the time, because I was not even in the picture. I was doing my thing. But he asked him if would he be interested in training my brother and my cousin. And he agreed to do it. So they bought up a bunch of lumber and material and built a ring. Now, this was a built-in place ring. This is like fallen in your house in the floor because it was built solid to stay. And got it built. They probably a couple, 3 months in, I got the fever and decided I wanted to get into the wrestling business too. So I went over there with them and worked out a couple times. And then unfortunately, Bad Boy had gotten in an automobile accident and got killed. So we ended up seeking out his one of his proteges, who was a deputy sheriff here at the time in our county. And he had some connections in the wrestling business. So we sought him out. He finished training us. And it was like a boot camp with him. But it made me what I am because I learned how to work hard and understand the business and know it inside and out. And that's what he stressed the whole time. And it's what's wrong with a lot of people today. They don't understand the business. It's a gymnastics class basically anymore, with who's got the fanciest moves, who can jump from the highest obstacle, and wear the coolest, outfits to the ring. There's no psychology, anything like that anymore. So it's hard to follow like it was back in our days. And we trained 5-6 days a week only because we were that hungry, not because he forced us to do it, but because, we really wanted to do it. Now, my brother did it for a little while and ended up deciding not to travel and make a career out of it. But once I got bit by the bug, I wasn't stopping,
Awesome.
And far as the name Wildcat goes, I never thought Wendall Cooley would draw money. So when I first broke in the business, I had met Scott Casey doing some independent work and asked him if there would be a problem if I would use the Casey name and say I was a cousin of his, just anything to try to get me a little shot in the arm, and get me a little boost. He didn't have a problem with it. And he's the one that actually got me my first booking on a full-time basis, which was Southwest. Jonathan Boyd of Sheep Herders was booking at the time. And Scott and I were together in, I think it was South Dakota for a couple months, doing a little independent outfit up there, trying to get started. He said, let me get back to Texas and I'll see what I can do to help you. And sure enough, he did. Got me my opportunity to go in there. And that was, I want to say, right before Christmas in '84, somewhere around Thanksgiving, right before Thanksgiving of '84.
Wow. Mike, the class, a question.
Yeah, I have a question. You've worked in various territories. What was it like working for Bill Watts?
Tough. Very tough. I mean, the territory was freaking immense. I mean, thousands of miles a week in the car. But he was a hard man to work for, man. Just very, he liked big guys. He liked us going at each other all the time. You know what I mean? He just loved that kind of freaking atmosphere. And he didn't, I don't know, he didn't have a, in my opinion, I weren't on top at the time when I first got there, of course, but he didn't have time for you on a personal basis unless you were his, main guys or whatever. However, my work ethic and Al's work ethic got us an opportunity because we had the size, to put the belts on because he liked big guys and he had big guys in there. You got DiBiase and Dr. Death. They're both 270 plus. Tommy and Bobby were working with them, but they're 195, 200, at best a piece at the time. So Bill wanted a bigger team, so he put us together. It worked. Going back to the Wildcat name, Skandar Akbar actually is the one that gave me the Wildcat name. Just out of the blue, he called me that on an interview one day, and it stuck. And thank God it did, because I didn't think Wendall Cooley would ever draw a nickel. Just that name, it just didn't have that, little catch to it.
Tony Richards.
Hey, Wendell, it's a pleasure and an honor to be with you tonight. Thanks for joining us. I noticed in a couple of the clips you were billed as being from San Antonio, and you mentioned the Scott Casey connection a few minutes ago, but you weren't actually born in Texas, were you?
No. I was born and raised in Milton, Florida. That's where I am tonight, my hometown. But because, doing the cowboy thing, it's kind of synonymous. You got cowboys in Texas, cowboys in Oklahoma. You don't have many in the sunshine state of Florida. So Gordon Soley just jumped on the Texas thing and kind of wrote it out. I never corrected him. Of course, he knew I weren't really from there, but just part of his, persona.
Sure. You mentioned Skandar Akbar giving you the Wildcat name. Most guys I've talked to in the business just really adored him. What was your relationship with Skandar like?
He was awesome. I mean, one of the nicest, easiest guys to work with. Very helpful, with underneath guys. He didn't treat you like that. He's always willing to give advice, and, just a super duper guy, man. And I stayed in contact with him after I left there for a couple years, and we ended up losing contact, but what a super guy, man.
Benny, a question.
Yeah, Wendell, I remember when we interviewed you, you mentioned something about leaving Mid-South because of a very questionable deduction from your paycheck for a medical expense. So I was wondering if you could tell us.
You remember that, huh?
Oh God, yeah. Can you refresh my memory about that?
Yeah, Al and I were the tag team, champ. We, whatever. But he would split us up on occasions because we were running two shows at times, and we had to have enough of talent to go around and whatever. But we happened to be in Baton Rouge at the Metroplex, I think was the name of the place there in Baton Rouge. At this time, it was a brief little deal, but 3 or 4 weeks I worked with Duggan in the program with Kamala and Zambui at the time, and Skandar was there, of course. So anyway, the deal was I'm gonna take the heat and get the color and the whole deal, and gonna put Duggan over. Duggan was their top babyface. So anyway, somewhere during the match, I had cutting my hand real bad between my ring finger and my middle finger. I mean, it was pretty gnarly and nasty. I didn't know it at the time. So we get the match over with, and I know that I had gotten some color, man, but there was just blood was everywhere. I said, my God, I know I didn't, Anyway, the trail of blood followed me back to the dressing room back there, and I finally get to the back and realized that there was a big gash between my ring finger and my middle finger. And Grizzly Smith was the road agent. And I said, man, I got to go get this fixed. He said, yeah, go to the emergency room, get it sewed up, and send the bill to Bill. Bill Watts. Okay, that seems reasonable. Anytime I've ever been on another job, you get hurt, you send the bill to the company. Right. So I go get sewed up, have the bill sent to Bill, and Tuesday rolled around and we get to TV, and that's when we got paid too. I get my check, and there's a hospital deduction out of my check. I said, what is this? He said, well, you went to the doctor, not me. I said, well, I went to the hospital because of you. You're the one that wanted me to do this. I did it for you. This, you know what I mean? This is your deal. I said, I don't think this is right. He said, well, I'm sorry. I said, okay, I'll tell you what you do then. And I handed him that belt. I said, you find you another half of the tag team champs because I'm out of here. And I left that day. And it was, I don't know, from Shreveport to Baton Rouge, probably a 2-hour drive back then, 2.5, you know, speed limit was 55. And by the time I got back to Baton Rouge, Bill Dundee had already called me wanting me to go to Memphis. He had already heard that quick that I had left, you know, somebody, probably Dutch, maybe at the time, called him and told him or something. I don't know, but he already knew about it. Offered me a job. I said, hell no, I ain't going to do this crap. No, I'm going home and get me a real job. That didn't last long. Lasted about 2 weeks. I got to missing it, ended up going to Memphis, and then, you know. But that's why I left Mid-South. Bill Watts was not to me anyway, was not a reasonable person you could go sit down and talk to and explain something to. It was either his way or no way. And that's the way it was, you know. But I got hurt working for you. You asked me to do this for you in this particular match for this particular individual you're pushing and making money off of. You know, I was totally happy doing my other stuff. And then I get hurt. Was it my fault? In the process of everything going on, accidents happen. It ain't like I purposely did it, you know, but it happened.
Tony Richards.
Wendell, I've just got my notes here that you debuted in 1981. Is that right?
No, actually, it was like March of 82.
82, March of 82. Okay, that next spring.
Yes. Now my brother debuted before I did. There was some time difference between his first and my first.
That might have been where I got confused. But you talked about how you were a big wrestling fan and all. How did you actually get trained and break in the business, and who did that for you?
Like I say, my brother and cousin had built that ring, and they were training. And after a couple, 3 months, I don't know, something just clicked that maybe I want to try it. So I went over there a few times and worked out with them and got bit by the bug. And then Bad Boy got killed in the automobile accident. And when we tracked down his protege, his name was Larry Pearson. He was a deputy here in Santa Rosa County. He agreed to work with us, and he said that he had connections, and he did. That if he felt like we reached the potential that he thought we should reach, then he would get us an opportunity. So it must have been, I don't know, had to have been 6 or 8 months, you know, just day after day. And, you know, but he stood true to his word. He got us an opportunity. And like I say, my brother did it for a bit and did a lot of local stuff, but he just didn't want to make it a career in travel. But once I got bit by that bug, I didn't want to do nothing else, you know, but that.
Well, Billy and Bad Boy Hines were, I mean, they were huge names in the South in the 1960s.
Yes.
Yes,
they were.
Do you remember any stories that Bad Boy told you about those days?
No, like I say, I had only met him a few times and worked out a couple times with him before he got before he had that accident. Now I got some stories second-handed from Larry, who was very close with Bad Boy and had been for years. But man, what a tough son of a gun he was, man. We couldn't budge him or move him in that ring if he didn't want you to, you know. He roughed us up a lot, you know.
They sold out the city. They sold out the city auditorium in Atlanta many times. So
yes.
You know, if you're going to be brought into the business like you were at that time, I mean, nothing like an old timer, you know, to help guide you and mentor you.
And back in the day, man, they didn't bring you in and smarten you up right away like they do nowadays. You know, nowadays they smarten you up. They know that it's sports entertainment and all that crap. Well, back in the day, man, they would figure out if you really just had the guts to stay with it, and if you're really tough enough, and you would really portray or protect the business, but portray yourself as a wrestler and an athlete, and not be a little punk sissy guy or something like that. I don't know, but man, a lot of the trainers, man, I don't know. Yeah, they would rough you up, man. You would have to pay your dues before you ever realized that, hey, this really is a work.
A lot of guys that I've interviewed said that they didn't figure out it was a work until about halfway through the first match.
Exactly. You know, and even training, you still didn't really get it until you actually got in the ring in a bona fide sanction deal is what I call it, not a little independent show, because most of those guys are still half marks anyway, you know, back in the day. But once you get in there, in the dressing room, you know that you're not trying to kill each other or nothing like that. And, you know, we got a predetermined finish, but you're really in the back of your mind guessing, okay, what's going to happen out here? You know what I mean? I'm going to go out there freewheeling and do this. Is this guy going to tie me up and hurt me or something? You know what I mean? You still had that in the back of your mind because of the way we were trained. You never got totally smartened up, and you didn't comprehend it even if they told you, till you actually got out there and actually went through the process.
Benny, a question.
Yeah, this is from Lawrence, a great friend of the show, all the way from Australia. So the Twisted Turnbuckle, it's worldwide. Yes. A question. I have a passion for pro wrestling promotion and booking. Wendell, what do you think the current pro wrestling landscape could learn from the territories? Boy, that's a loaded question.
Yeah. The first and foremost is psychology. Know why you're in there. Number one, know the outcome, and then know how to tell the story to get to the finish and to the outcome. You know, a lot of things now, you know, it's like if you were reading a book, you're going to get the last chapter is going to be the first page you read. Then they're going to try to tell the story after that, because these guys spend 45 minutes in a dressing room and they're scripting every single move that they do. They have no reason why they're doing it, why it matters. You know, it's just, I want to look good, then I'm going to let you look good, and then I'm going to beat you with this. And it's like they say, it's entertainment anymore. There's no story there at all. How it's surviving, if it weren't for the monsters and the creativity of the characters, it would never survive. You know, it just really wouldn't. Because now, and I get so sick of seeing it, we're breaking tables and ladders. Seemed like every episode. When does that ever get old? You know, I mean, I'm over that. Create something more exciting, but I guess the Gen Zers and the people prior to that, I don't forget what their thing was called, but I was a baby boomer, and then you had this
millennials,
whatever. I think they're all into that. The higher you can get and the farther you can fall and whatever you can break or bust, I'm all into it, and I'm going to spend my money to watch it. But there is zero psychology anymore. If you watch a wrestling match, there's none. I mean, they already know the finish, so tell a story that's going to keep the people excited and interested in it until you get there. But instead, we got 30 minutes of gymnastics. I got to outdo you if I'm the baby face, and that's all that matters anymore. I'm the baby face. So I'm going to do more moves than you, and mine's going to be a little more, more exciting than yours. I don't even care to watch it anymore. I really don't.
Well, Mr. Cooley, I only watched the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, but other than that, I do not watch it. That's why we have this show, to keep classic pro wrestling alive, because this is what we grew up on and this is what we love. Benny, go ahead, a follow-up.
Yeah, Wendell, everybody says how great wrestling is in 2026. I'm of the opposite. I'm a boomer as well. And if I'm in Memphis when you're wrestling and I can see Wildcat Wendall Cooley wrestle at the Mid-South Coliseum every Monday night, and I have to believe when you walk down the aisle, you're seeing a lot of the same faces week after week after week. And to me, you almost form a bond with those people. You know who they are. They know who you are. Now, I mean, I live right outside of Tampa. They might come here once a year. And I'm sitting a million miles. Well, not that I would even buy a ticket, but if I were to buy a ticket, I need a roadmap just to see the ring. I mean, so how do you think? I think a wrestling fan in 1982 was light years better off than somebody in 2026.
Oh, absolutely. And that was the point I was trying to make. We were selling out these arenas with the same people. And then, of course, new people would jump on board and get excited too. That's why these shows have to go to a different city a gazillion miles apart every week, because they can't sell out the same place on a weekly basis like we did the Mid-South Coliseum, or we did in Knoxville every week, or in Birmingham at the Boutwell. We could sell those out week after week with the same crew we had, because we told stories and people really got into the stories that we were telling. But nowadays, these places couldn't have a territory with their product. I'm not saying they don't have great athletes. They do. And they have some great ideas for some of the gimmicks, but wrestling today is light years from where it was back in the day where I was coming up, where we had to sell these buildings out to make a living. Now, you can sell a T-shirt or a doll or any kind of merchandise and go to these pay-per-views and stuff where people watch it. You're going to get your check regardless of whether you sell the building out or not. Back then we had to, and when you could go down that aisle and see this place full every Monday night, you knew you were doing something right.
Right.
People were going there. I'm sorry, Chris. People were coming to see Wildcat Wendall Cooley fight. Now people come to be entertained. There's a big difference.
Right. Mike the Class.
Yeah. I mean, the fans had their favorites. And if you could, what's the word I'm looking for? You can make them feel what you're feeling. Okay. For instance, if I told the people on TV Monday night, I got my shot at the heavyweight title, and I can promise you, I will be your new champion. And then once I do that, people start believing in me. You know what I'm saying? And you become, I I don't know what the word, I wouldn't say an idol or nothing like that, but you become someone they look up to, you know, like a role model or something. And man, as long as you could keep the excitement going, they're coming every Monday night to buy a ticket just to see what you're going to do next, you know? And it was unreal. It really was. Nowadays, not so much, in my opinion.
Mike the Class.
Got a question for you, Mr. Cooley. You've won quite a few different belts. What was one of your favorite belts to actually defend?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of partial, you know, because I grew up here in the Panhandle, and this is where the Welches were, Ron and Robert Fuller, and, you know, the Southeastern Championship Wrestling. And I grew up as a kid watching it. However, it weren't owned by them at the time. It was owned by the Fields. And it was called Gulf Coast back in those days. But to be able to come back home and actually rise to the top of that particular promotion, where I'm from, where all my friends are, all my family, that even to me was more special than the very first one I ever won, which was the Southwest heavyweight title in my very first territory ever down there. I mean, no one knew me other than what little bit they had seen on TV, and Scott talked about me, you know. But this one here, yeah, the Southeastern belt, before they changed to Continental, that was probably the most rewarding for me.
Tony.
Yeah, that Southeastern title was from the lineage of the Gulf Coast Championship. I think that
Yes.
Ron and Robert's
Yes.
father, Buddy Fuller, actually put that territory into motion back in the mid 1950s. You were a 3-time Alabama champion, and I loved the National Wrestling Alliance, the way they had the state championships. You had some regional ones like the Southern title and the Southwestern title and the Southeastern title, but that whole concept of whoever holds the state title or the biggest singles title in the territory gets the world championship title shot. I love that gimmick. And
yes,
I mean, it just seemed like that was more it made it more real. And I noticed you have a championship on your wall back there. You have a nice room that's you're surrounded by your career and a lot of different aspects of your life. What's the what's
this
the
is
championship
my little
back
man
there?
cave right here.
What's your championship
This is
on
my
your wall?
man cave right here. The big one you see right there is myself and Frankie Lancaster when we were in Puerto Rico as the Heartbreakers.
The Thumper.
There's another one right there. That's just me in Puerto Rico. And then that one right there is a black and white. That was from my Continental days. Now that belt right there, there's another one on the other side. A good friend of mine, he was also a wrestler. He broke in shortly after I did. Never got any real big major promotions, but he did do a little work with Continental in the later days, and he did with WOW when Rip Tyler opened it up. His name was Turbo Ted. He made those in his shop, and I just wanted something to hang up here on my wall here, and he done a heck of a job on them, actually.
Yeah, it got my
really nice.
got my eye right away. It made me wonder which
yeah,
belt that
yeah.
was.
He made those, so I put them up there. He let me hang them up here because originally I was going to start a podcast, you know, just to kill my time when I retired. And now that the band thing is going and taking off, and I'm not very computer savvy, man. If it hadn't been for my wife turning this on, I wouldn't be on with you right now. I'm
Well,
serious.
thank goodness
I
for
just
her.
have
What's
no
her
interest.
What's her name, Wendell?
Say again?
What's her name?
My wife?
Yes.
Her name is Alicia.
Well, Alicia is the reason you're on with us. So thank you, Alicia.
Yes, she is.
Well,
because I tell you, I have no interest in wanting to learn a computer or nothing, but I had this big idea that I was going to do a podcast, and see, there's my mic and all that. And I had the whole deal getting ready, and I never could figure out how to get it started and off the ground. And then the band stuff took off. So, but everybody, you know, I wanted to do something different. I didn't want to just be all wrestling, you know. On mine, I kind of want to talk about everything, all kind of sports. I love sports, man. I'm a golf fanatic. I love golf. I love competitive bass fishing, and now the music thing. So I wanted to do a little bit of everything, but I don't know. It never really got off the ground. So,
well, hopefully you have a lot of your
here we are.
fans.
I do these. I enjoy doing these.
Hopefully you have a lot of your fans and your friends tell you that they saw you on with us tonight. So that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, we do share it across the country, and like Benny said, across the world.
Across the world, yeah.
Live here every Thursday night on the Playa Entertainment Network YouTube channel. Benny, a question.
Yeah, Wendell, again, going back to our interview, you mentioned that you did have you met with the World Wrestling Federation as it was back then. What happened with that?
Let's see. I think that was right after. It might have been right before Frankie and I went to Puerto Rico. I think that was around the 90. No, it was after. I'm sorry. It was after, because it was in the 92 time frame. I had already left Puerto Rico. I had a disagreement with, I had gotten hurt. We had gotten a bad car wreck, Frankie and I did, with one of the locals driving us. And I got hurt pretty bad. And Dick Murdoch, I don't like to talk about people who are no longer with us anymore, but he and I just didn't get along because I weren't one of the guys. He invited me many times to go out drinking with him and partying, and I just didn't do that, you know. And when I got hurt, he was booking at the time, and he wanted me to get in the ring. I said, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to take a chance in getting staffed, number one. Number two, I was told not to for at least 2 weeks until all the staples and stitches are out. I didn't have any broken bones. Thank God I didn't break my neck because I went through the windshield. But he wanted me to get in the ring. I said, absolutely not. There is no way I'm going to do that. I'm sorry. So he kind of took offense to it and made a comment that didn't sit well with me. So I told Frankie, I said, you know what, I'm over this. I'm out of here. You know, I'm going back to the States, and you want to stay, but I'm getting burnt out on this anyway. You know what I mean? So I left, came back. A couple of months later, Frankie's back, and somehow he had gotten in touch with Kurt Hennig, and they were going to be in Nashville. WWE was. So Kurt got us booked to work. Didn't know who at the time, but they were going to let us work. From the time we walked in the building, it was just the atmosphere just weren't like we were accustomed to walking in a normal dressing room or an arena area. You know, it was like this guy had his private this, these two had their private that. And, you know, you were looked upon, in my opinion, like, you know, wait till we get done and then you can come in and eat from the buffet and whatever. So anyway, we get past all that. We get closer to match time. We find out who we're going to work with. And it's on it's on Facebook. We work with the Bushwhackers, Luke and Butch. And Gorilla Monsoon came in and I introduced myself. We had our gear on from Puerto Rico, you know, our little heartbreaker.
Heartbreakers, yeah.
Yeah, little gimmicks on little tops. And he came up to me and I stuck my hand out and introduced myself as Apollo. He said, "Oh, no, not tonight, you're not." Okay. I thought we were going in there as, I didn't know any different, weren't told, as the Heartbreakers, you know. Anyway, we had a great match with Luke and Butch, and we're on the way back home. And we were supposed to work another show the next night. I said, I was not impressed. I don't know about you, but I can tell you one thing. I done earned my scars. I done put in my time. I done worked my ass off and learned this business, you know, and I'm not going to start all the way over again and become whoever or whatever they want me to become and get beat up by these 6'8", 400-pound monsters that are turning out of this school. You can get hurt. I'm just not about doing it. And it's pretty obvious that they didn't have no real expectations of doing anything with you and I as we are. So, whatever. So I never bothered going back. It just didn't appeal to me. The atmosphere weren't what I was accustomed to.
Mr. Cooley, I have a question. We usually ask all our guests here, right, Benny? You probably know where I'm going with this. Any Andre the Giant or Iron Sheik stories that you could tell us?
I never had the pleasure of meeting either one of those guys.
Oh, wow.
Andre came in to Continental. Actually, it was Southeast at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the week that I was gone to Korea. Bill Ash had a tour over in South Korea, and I had left to go do that tour with him, and Andre came in. So I never got to meet him, never got to meet the Iron Sheik. Never really heard a lot of stories about either or. I mean, everybody hears them about Andre, about, you know, his gargantuan size and the amount of wine or beer that he could drink in one setting. You know, we're talking in the 90s in beers in one setting, and a dozen bottles of wine or whatever. It was just unbelievable. Now, I did go off with Ric Flair one time. That's another guy right there that could put some stuff away. We went to we were working in Little Rock, Arkansas, and after the show, he invited me and a couple other guys to go to the club with him, and of course I did. And I was never much of a liquor drinker. I like to drink beer and whatever, but we get there and the waitress comes to the table. He orders 50 kamikazes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 50. And you didn't turn him down. If he offered you one, you didn't turn him down. Well, I choked one down, but I didn't drink no more of them because I'm just not a liquor drinker. But that's what he did when he went out, man. Everybody in the bar that ended up eventually migrating to where he was, you know, that's how his popularity just everywhere he went, man. It was just, you know, here, let me buy you a drink. Here, have this drink, you know, and that kind of deal. So,
well, I heard that. Of course, we've all heard that. But my Ric Flair story is kind of sad if you think about it. I mean, I've been a fan since 1980. Like everybody knows here, I was 5 years old. I watched WWF. I watched Mid-Atlantic, and of course, liked Ric Flair. He was the U.S. champion at the time. And so I went up to him at the Buffalo Marriott after a WCW Nitro. I mean, he's right there, right? So, hey, I went up to him. I said, "Excuse me, Mr. Flair, can I get a quick picture with you?" Mr. Cooley, he didn't say nothing to me. He just went.
No, he didn't.
Yes, he did. And you know what? I was hurt.
Wow.
Okay, from being a fan for that long. I was hurt. But what was worse was 5-6-year-old kid went up to Arn Anderson in the library of this, in the lobby of this hotel at like 11 o'clock at night and said, "Can I have an autograph?" He said, "I'm not on the clock, kid." Now, you want to brush me off? Yeah, I got hurt.
Wow.
I got hurt, but I got over it. But you don't do that to a little
Yeah.
kid.
Who do they think's
No,
buying it?
that's
Exactly. Who buys
That's
the tickets?
uncool.
Who buys the books, the figures? Us.
thank you.
So if it wasn't for us
Exactly.
fans, who would they be? And that's what I kind of stick to with this show, because that's kind of the way
None
it
of us would ever be who we were or where we were without people like you guys to be the fans and buy the tickets and support what we were doing. You know what I mean? And I was never stupid enough to think any different, and that's what helped me over the years to get over, was I never strayed from that. I always had time. There were times that I might have been in a hurry. There might have been times I'd have been in public trying to eat dinner with my family or whatever, but I always made time. Now, there were a couple instances where an asshole would come up and make a scene or something. I'd cut that off pretty quick, but a true blue wrestling fan, especially a kid, no, that never, ever I could have ever done that. And I don't think that's cool at all.
Well, that's great of you. And also a friend of mine and a friend of the show is Mr. Jerry Oates, is the same way you are. Tony, a question.
Wendell, we talked a lot about the Gulf Coast territory and Southeastern and the Fullers and the Fields. There was another family that you were closely affiliated with and worked with down there called the Armstrong family. And you were tag team partners with Steve. Now, were you guys, there's a popular team out now in modern wrestling, but were you guys the first Young Bucks?
Actually, we were the Bama Bucks.
Bama
Bucks. Yeah, that was a short-lived thing. Austin Idol, after Robert and Ron had taken the territory and moved further north, Montgomery and Birmingham, it left this place vacant down here. So Austin Idol found a couple investors and tried to reopen this. And I want to say he was using USA at the time. Before Ron took it and went to Knoxville and used the USA name. But I had taken a hiatus from Continental at the time, and I think Eddie Gilbert was booking at the time, and he and I didn't get along. That had carried over for a couple years from the Mid-South to the Memphis territory and things like that. So when he came in, I turned in my notice, came down here to work for Austin. But Austin Idol did not want a babyface that could get over in a singles deal, you know what I mean? Because it would be in direct competition with him. So he put me with Steve and called us the Bama Bucks. So that's how that got started. Me, preferably, man, I was a singles guy. I never really cared for tag team wrestling. It just weren't my cup of tea. I just felt like I could give the people more doing things my way, at my speed, the way I wanted to do them and whatever. But, man, you got to do a whole lot of thinking when you're in tag situation, because things has got to flow. It ain't just me now. I got to think for my partner, and we got to be on the same wavelength. So to me, it took a little fun out of the night, because now I got to think instead of just react and have fun. Now I got to do a whole lot of thinking, like that whole time we were together in Puerto Rico. It was like going to damn school, having to think and make sure everything and everybody was on the right wavelength. So first and foremost, nobody got hurt. Number two, the story we were trying to tell made sense. Just a whole lot of damn unnecessary work, in my opinion. As a babyface, man, all I had to do was open these ears up and listen and just react, and it was like a night off.
Mike the Class.
Yeah, a question. How did that? How did you feel about like certain moves? Were there certain wrestling moves you wouldn't do?
Oh, back in my day that I wouldn't do for personal reasons, or safety or whatever.
Mainly for safety reasons.
No, because back in the early days, and I think that's why that I probably ended my career sooner than I wanted to, because I would try or do anything back in those days. You know what I mean? Now, I wouldn't steal somebody's finish or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong, but I was always trying to think of a more high risk type of situation to catch the crowd by surprise, but not like climbing ladders or the balcony and jumping off on tables and crap like that. But I used to run up the turnbuckles and do a backflip. You know what I mean? I'd take the turnbuckle, but instead of taking it, just run all the way up it and catch a backflip over it and, catch my opponent or whatever, just crazy things like that. No, probably nothing I wouldn't have tried. A lot of them I probably didn't. There was probably a lot of them I never did try, not because I wouldn't, it just probably didn't think about it. But I was kind of taught sometime less is more, you know what I mean, in a match. I'll give you a prime example. I wrestled Nick Botwinkle. He was going to do the favor for me in Knoxville, Tennessee, which was my big town. I'm the top dog in Continental, and they brought him in. And I went to the dressing room to introduce myself. And I said, is there anything special that you do that I need to know about? He said, kid, we'll just play it by ear. That's all I need to know. We already knew what the finish was, so we'll play it by ear. I worked the hammerlock for 45 minutes. That's all we did. I worked the hammerlock on him. He'd get up, get to his feet, down we'd go. I'd work on that arm. Get to his feet, down he'd go. I'd work on that arm. He'd briefly cut me off. I'd end up with that arm again back on the mat. And that's the way we were taught and trained. Sometimes less is more. People can actually keep up with what you're doing. And I didn't waste a lot of energy unnecessarily, okay, when I worked. I did work hard, don't get me wrong, but I didn't try to overdo things. I probably had one of the shortest comebacks in professional wrestling at the time. If you'll watch any of my matches, I don't think any of my comebacks ever went over 20 seconds. You know what I mean? It was just I didn't waste a lot of stuff. Just, because, for instance, if I knock you down, okay, say I body slam you. Why do I want to pick you up and body slam you again? I mean, does it make sense? I got you on the ground. What should I do? First and foremost, try to pin you to see if I can get a 3 count. If I can't, try to keep you on the ground. I threw you down there for a reason.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And people don't think about things like that, and to a wrestling fan who learns after a while to pick things out, they think it, because I thought that as a wrestling fan, damn, you had him on the ground. Why'd you pick him back up? Now he's got you. He was on the ground. Keep him down there.
Nowadays they want to.
Like we learn.
Nowadays they want to get up off the mat.
That.
They want to get off the mat as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Instead of dropping a knee. Yeah. Well, Mr. Cooley, a name I just want to throw out there in this your opinion of. A lot of people think, maybe he was underrated back in the day, but he was in Southwest. I don't know if you had any interaction with him or not, but the Hangman, Bobby Jacker.
Never met him. He had just left and went to, I guess he went with everybody else to work for Crockett, because when I got to Southwest, Tully had gone, Gino had went to Dallas, him and Chris, and only 2 people that were left there was Bob Sweetan, Scott Casey, and maybe Tim Brooks was still there. Eric Embry. I'm sorry, Eric was there, but that was it. Everybody else had done packed up and took off and went to Georgia, Florida, or the Carolinas. So I never got to meet him. I watched him wrestle a lot, and I would have loved to have had gotten in the ring with him because I liked his style, and it would have fit mine very well.
Right. Benny.
Yeah, Wendell, geez, I forgot what I was going to ask now. Give me 1 second here. Hang on. Let me. Yeah. So you, when you got to Continental, I think you had said that you weren't really going there when you first came there. They weren't looking at you as a top guy, but the Fullers were so impressed with your work ethic because you mentioned before that, that you were trying to have a good work ethic. That got you a program with Adrian Street, which you guys worked for a long time. So I wanted you to talk about that, how, working with the exotic Adrian Street.
Okay. Yeah, because I got my start here. And I was just so gung-ho when I first was breaking in after I had my very first match, man. I wanted to do it every night. So I told him to call me anytime somebody can't make it or you need an extra hand or whatever. I'd sit by the phone, wait for Bob Armstrong or Ron or Robert to call and say, hey, we need somebody tonight in wherever. I was at the spur of the moment ready to pack up and go. So after I had worked several times, they told my trainer, Larry, we need to get him out of here. He's got potential. We don't want to beat him up and, ruin any opportunities that he may have. He needs to go get some more experience, but the only way he's going to get experience here is to get beat up, and we don't want to do that. You know what I mean? So I left and was gone for, I don't know, probably a year and a half. And Larry called me and said that they were going to have an opening back here in Continental if I wanted to come back home. I was in Memphis at the time. I said, well, hell yeah, I'd love to come back home. I mean, that's my bucket list thing, do this in front of my people, and they actually, they didn't know much about me other than, I guess, word of mouth between, how promoters talk. That I do not think that they brought me in intentionally to push to be on top. I think just to put me in mid-card. They put me with the toughest program that you could have ever done right out the gate, working that persona of Adrian Street and not flopping, okay? So I'm saying not killing myself off and my credibility or killing his gimmick totally. So it was a lot of thought. I think we probably worked together 6 months, every damn night it seemed like. And it was It was tough for the first few times because he don't talk in the ring at all. At all. You just got to watch and pay attention, and you kind of get an idea of where he's going and what he's going to do. And when it was your turn, same with him, but I talked, he didn't. So anyway, that kind of really boosted my, my credibility and when I got through that program, with the head of steam that I had and the following. I got to credit Adrian, bless his heart. He's gone now, rest his soul. But he was truly a really super nice guy. He understood the business. Of course, his style was a lot different because he learned over in England, but just a true blue, good. If you did something wrong, he'd let you know about it. That kind of guy, you know what I mean? He didn't pull any punches with you. And if he didn't feel like he could do something, he'd say, "It's okay, mate, but I can't do that." Okay, well, no problem. We'll do something different. You know what I mean? But he was always a pleasure to be with, to work around. Getting through that program with, he really, built my stock, okay, so to speak. So now that we get through that, my bosses, Robert and Ron and Jimmy and Bob, all those are in that business together. They all could see that we got something here, if we can get him with the right person and keep things moving. And they did. And it worked. It worked. And I'm forever grateful to them for giving me that chance.
Tony.
We talked a little bit. One of my favorite things to study as far as pro wrestling history is concerned is the history of some of the classic buildings that pro wrestling has been held in. And that building in Pensacola, the one that went out into the Gulf, did you work in that building at all?
Many, 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 many times. Yes. They tore that down to build a ballpark.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's where the Blue Wahoo Stadium and all is now, but that was iconic. Yes. Yes. I can remember back in the 60s going there and watching it as a child. And I ended up in that same exact building, wrestling.
I thought that was just an amazing building with the, you drove out into the ocean for your parking and all that. But the follow-up question to that is, what was your favorite building to work in your career?
There were several of them, but I would say the Coliseum in Knoxville and Birmingham. Here now in this area, because they were always so full and the fans were so just on fire and man, they were phenomenal. That place roared the whole night we were there, just like the Mid-South in Memphis, with a good sellout crowd there. Man, that place just roared all night long. Louisville Gardens was another fun little place to be.
The
Evansville,
Coliseum,
not so much.
Evansville,
not so much, but
the Coliseum in
really
Evansville. The Coliseum in Evansville is where I went every Wednesday night as a fan to see Tennessee wrestling.
Yeah, that was a little. I don't know, just in my opinion, the layout and all of it.
But you did get
downstairs underneath, and
you did get the organ. The lady played the organ every Wednesday night.
Yes. But I would say, I don't know. I guess my number one all-time favorite would have to be Boutwell Auditorium in Birmingham. Knoxville a close second, and then
I'm sure that
Mid-South was Lawler territory,
those
South Coliseum.
Back in the old Goulas Welch territory, those ran on the same night. Mid-South Coliseum in Memphis and the auditorium in Birmingham. Those were the two Monday night shows that Goulas Welch ran. And I'm sure as you went into some of those great buildings and locker rooms, you probably every now and then thought about, man, the wrestlers and the matches that have been here, before.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah, and just like Chattanooga, going there to that municipal auditorium there in Chattanooga, that was kind of a iconic historic place. But I thought about that a lot, going into these old buildings, about the guys that were there before me, and the sold out crowds and the houses that they had, and just things like that. It was unreal at times. You know what I mean?
Well, before we start to close the show out here, Mr. Cooley, why don't you tell our fans out there, other than your social media, about what's going on with your great band lately?
Okay. Actually, we've been together now for this particular group of guys, I had to go through a lot of guys, man. It's been a year and a half in the process. You know, you get a group and you think everything's good, and you got someone that don't get along and things just don't mesh, and you got to replace that guy, and then you got to replace this guy, and this just don't work. So anyway, this particular group I got now, it's been a good solid probably 6 months. We've gotten in a lot of good rehearsals. You see some of the stuff I post out there. That's in my shop here at my home is where we rehearse and practice. So we finally, last weekend, went out and took our first official booking other than doing things here. You know, I would open up the practice for an open practice a few times just to have people around and get a feedback and, you know, of how things were going. We took our first one at the Southern Raceway here in Milton, a big dirt track. Okay. We did that Friday night, or last Saturday, I'm sorry. And we're playing there tomorrow night for an after the race pit party from 9 till 11. The following night, Saturday night, we're playing at a club over in Pensacola. It's called the Moonshine Saloon. We'll be there from 7 to 11. And then we've got 5 or 6 other ones in the works right now. But we got probably, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks off in the next 3 months. They're starting to pile up on us, and we're ready for it. We've been way ready for it.
Awesome. Well, you know, we love music too, right, Benny?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
A lot of parallels in the entertainment and music and in wrestling. There's a lot of things that are very similar.
Yeah. Yes. And that's another reason that I got the band going again. You know, my youngest daughter weren't around, of course, during my time in the ring. So when she got up about 10, 11 years old, Facebook became real popular and all my videos started popping up again. And, you know, the kids around talking about it and, oh, this is my dad and, you know, all this kind of stuff. So I ended up taking a booking and I swore when I got out of wrestling, I was done with it, you know. I took a booking just for her to go be a part of it. And then one thing led to another. Then it was another booking, then another booking. And then she always wanted to go. Dad, when we're going to go again? When are you going to wrestle again? And, you know, first one thing and another. So that got me back in it. Now I can't do what I used to do. And for anybody that's out there still doing it, don't take this as negative or bad. But I know I can't perform like I did once before. I'm not going to go out there and waddle around and, you know, stumble around and whatever just to get through a match to make an extra $50 or $100. It's not worth it to me. I would rather entertain these people by doing something that doesn't take that much physicality, you know, and still have them enjoy their night. So now we've put the band back together, and I'm just going to entertain my wrestling fans that way now. You know what I mean? I'll make an appearance and I'll sign autographs, take pictures and whatever. But my wrestling days, those are done and numbered. I just got over major surgery 6 months ago, and, you know, I'm not going to do it. I went out, in my opinion, it was very abruptly, but I feel like I went out on top. You know what I mean? I didn't try to make 40 comebacks and, you know, be way, way beyond my years and my physical looks and things like that. I just assume people will remember me how I was and not try to make those big comebacks and things like that. If there's guys out there doing it, and I know they still are, more power to them, buddy. Really, if you can do it, do it. But for me, I choose to, try to entertain now with my music and being with this bunch of good guys that I got.
That's awesome. Well, Benny, my ECMC still pick, please. This is ECMC Transplant Hospital, Western New York, near Buffalo. We are trying to help our good friend, Mrs. Robin Restaino, receive a kidney she desperately needs. Almost going on 3 years, Benny. You believe that?
Wow. Yeah.
We got to help this lady get her kidney and enjoy the rest of her life. 716-898-5001 is the number to call. Blood types are A negative, A positive, and O. And hopefully someday soon, somebody will reach out and help Mrs. Robin Restaino get her kidney she deserves. Mike DeClass with our Independent Wrestler of the Week, please.
Sure. This week's Indie Wrestler of the Week is Leela Feist, and she's the Ohio Valley Wrestling Women's Champion. This is Al Snow's promotion, the one that he's part of, him and Dangerous Danny Davis, that was featured on Netflix.
Wow. Awesome. And our she does, right? That got a kind of mean look there looking at you. Like, get in the ring with me right now. Mike DeClass, our military salute to service this week.
Sure. This week's salute to service is to Steve Mongo McMichael. He was in the U.S. Marine Corps Reserves. He was actually played in the NFL for the Bears, and he was also part of the Four Horsemen for a little while in WCW.
Yes.
Wow. Never knew he served. See, you come up with people we never knew who served in the military each week. That is great.
Yeah, sometimes I got to dig deep for some of these guys. It's kind of, there's only so many of them out there. So
you're the man, Mike.
Well, we kind of came up with that idea for this show. We wanted to give a salute to the military people and or their families that were in professional wrestling over the years. Benny, my PSA for this week is the Doctors Without Borders. It is doctorswithoutborders.org, O-R-G. This has been going on for at least the past 30 years, maybe more, where, they take donations and they go all across the world to give their time and help with surgeries that people need in all these other countries across the world. So I think it's a worthy cause. It's Doctors Without Borders. And guys, before we go here, we want to definitely thank and appreciate our guest, Mr. Wendall Cooley, for joining us live tonight. And hopefully we'll have him back down the road. We also want to put out his Facebook where everybody can check out his band and what's going on with that and the great music that they play. Tony Richards, a final word.
Oh, I just want to thank Wendall so very much for joining us here tonight and wish him all the luck in the world with his band and all the gigs that they're going to be playing. Who's your steel guitar player, Wendall?
His name is Bobby Strickland.
I love a band with a good steel.
Yes, I do too.
So
yeah, he was a godsend. He called me out of the blue. I hadn't seen him in 30 years. He said, I'm ready to get back to playing. So
very, very difficult instrument to play, but those who play it well, there's no sweeter sound in the world. And thank you very much for joining us tonight, and good luck. And I hope I get to see you perform sometime.
Good deal. I hope so, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Cooley. Next week, live here on this show, Thursday night, February 26th, Mr. Tony Richards will join us again, as we will have Miss Melody Koloff, the granddaughter of the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff, and Mr. Neil Koloff join us here live next week on this show. As we know by now, the Koloffs are out and about this year, 2026, with their family reunion tour, keeping the legacy alive, Mr. Cooley, with the Russian Bear, Ivan Koloff. I think that's a great thing.
Absolutely.
All right, Benny, why don't you take us out of here, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, and take care.
Take care, everybody.